All right, so this whole princess treatment thing, right? You wanted to hear about it.
Yeah.
We went deep on this YouTube video
Oh, yeah.
that's been making some waves. It's called How to Receive Princess Treatment from a channel called, get this, ISIS.
Ah.
And it's not your typical self-help kind of thing. It's more about
Well, it's not.
it connects this idea of being treated like royalty, like a princess,
Yeah.
with like female empowerment
Yeah.
and a woman's energy.
Yeah.
Less about finding Prince Charming, more about like owning your inner queen, you know?
It's a fascinating take, especially because it really emphasizes setting these high standards for yourself before you even think about expecting it from anyone else.
Right. And they get really specific, almost luxurious with the examples, like choosing to drink from, a wine glass instead of just a regular cup.
Interesting.
Or using your good china, like on a Tuesday night.
Oh, wow.
It's all about shifting your energy, feeling worthy. But do you think like those kinds of things actually make a difference?
Well, I think about it this way. When you make an effort to treat yourself well, even if it's in small ways,
Yeah.
it really sends a powerful message to your subconscious. It reinforces this whole idea that you're valuable, that you deserve nice things,
Yeah.
and that, increased sense of self-worth. It can definitely have a ripple effect on how you interact with the world and people around you.
So it's not just about the stuff, it's the mindset.
Absolutely. And the video talks a lot about cultivating this like queen or goddess energy.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might sound kind of, woo-woo at
Yeah.
first, but I think there's definitely something to be said for like the confidence, the self-belief that comes with owning your power.
Oh, for sure. But they don't stop at self-care, though.
Right.
It gets into like the more practical side of this princess treatment, especially when it comes to dating. Like, women should only be impressed by a man's actions, not just his words. Classic dating advice, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a very common piece of advice. But it's interesting how they frame it in this whole context of a woman's inherent worth. It's not playing hard to get. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of someone who's going to back up their words with consistent effort and respect.
Okay, so less about the grand gestures and more about the everyday.
Exactly, yeah. It's recognizing that difference between, someone who's trying to sweep you off your feet with just fleeting charm versus someone who's really committed to building something with you that's based on mutual respect and consistent effort.
Good distinction. And that kind of leads us to, I think, what is probably the most controversial aspect
No, for sure.
of this whole princess treatment concept,
Yeah.
this idea that a woman's worth, that the video equates it with her sexuality and, the power it supposedly holds over men.
It is a very bold statement, and it's important to remember we're here to explore these ideas,
Yeah,
not necessarily endorse them.
of course. Yeah, it's definitely something to be unpacked carefully.
Right.
There's a fine line, right,
Yeah.
between owning your sexuality
Oh, definitely.
and feeling like it's like your only source of power,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
It is a very complex topic,
Right,
and every woman's experience with that is going to be different.
right. And speaking of kind of different approaches, they pivot then to this whole idea of attracting versus seeking
Okay.
a partner, right?
Right.
And they say if you focus on yourself, your own happiness,
Mm-hmm.
it'll naturally draw men to you, which, again,
Yeah,
is pretty common advice.
it is. It is. But
Yeah.
it raises an interesting question, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
how does that align with that earlier emphasis on,
Hmm.
using your sexuality as a source of power?
Right.
Feels almost like a contradiction.
It does, right.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's like own your sexuality, set standards, but
Mhm.
then on the other hand, it's like let go,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and allow men to pursue you.
Like two sides of the same coin, almost. Yeah.
It highlights that there's no one-size-fits-all
Right.
approach to dating
Yeah.
and relationships.
Totally. So how do we reconcile those ideas? Being confident and assertive, but also letting go, not actively searching.
Yeah, I think it's about finding that balance where you're like comfortable in your own skin,
Right.
you know your worth, and you set boundaries, but you're also open to connection, and you're not, putting all your energy into finding someone.
So less about putting on a show and more about just being yourself
Yeah, it's
and
the same.
trusting the right people will come along.
Right. Think of it this way. Like when you're trying too hard,
Yeah.
you're often projecting this image that's not really you.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a turnoff, that inauthenticity.
Right.
But when you're like genuinely happy with yourself,
Yeah.
you radiate a different kind of energy. It's magnetic.
Oh, I see that. This makes me think about all that, like, advice, right? Treat yourself like a princess.
But what does that actually look like, in everyday life?
I think it starts with, like, those small intentional acts of self-care.
Okay.
Being mindful of how you're talking to yourself,
Yeah.
how you nurse your body, how you're spending your time.
Yeah.
It's about creating a life that feels good on the inside,
Mm.
and then it radiates outwards.
So not like buying a bunch of expensive stuff or
No,
expecting to be waited on, but just those little choices.
yes, those little choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That like show self-love.
Self-respect.
Yeah.
Maybe taking a few minutes each morning to meditate,
Right.
or just enjoying like a cup of tea in silence, setting aside time to do something you love.
Right.
It's about those small but consistent choices that say, hey, you're worthy of care.
And that ties back to like not being easily impressed, right?
It does, yeah.
It's not about expecting those grand gestures, but knowing your worth is like already there.
Yeah, yeah. It's shifting from that mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. It's recognizing you deserve joy and beauty in your life, regardless of your, relationship status.
This is making me think about like the whole queen energy thing. We talked about that earlier. Like, what does that actually look like?
I think it's about cultivating like a really deep sense of self-belief, self-acceptance, owning your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Embracing those flaws and imperfections.
Right.
It's about recognizing you are a whole and complete person.
And that like self-assuredness,
Oh, yeah.
that's attractive.
Definitely.
Not in like an arrogant way,
No.
but just like being comfortable.
It's about being comfortable in your own skin and radiating that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you are coming from that place,
Yeah.
you attract the right people.
Yes, absolutely. People who are drawn to like the real you.
To the real you, not like the projected you.
Exactly.
Right.
Not trying to fit a mold.
Right. Just letting your true self
Yes, let it shine through.
shine. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. It feels like all these things like, self-care, boundaries, owning your sexuality, queen energy, they're all kind of connected.
They are. They are. And I think what's really important is that each person takes these concepts and figures out what resonates for them, what fits with their own values and beliefs.
Right. It's not like a one-size-fits-all.
No, not at all.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And creating a life that feels authentic
Right.
and fulfilling.
I like that. So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into princess treatment, what's the key takeaway you'd like our listeners to think about?
I think it really is all about recognizing your worth and creating a life that really reflects that.
Yeah.
It's not about waiting for someone to give you permission or put a crown on your head. It's about like choosing to see yourself that way and acting accordingly.
So empowering yourself, not demanding it from others.
Exactly. Yeah. Taking ownership
Right.
of your life, your choices, your happiness. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
This makes me think about all the little ways we can, embody that queen energy in our daily lives. Like what are some things people can actually do?
Well, it could be something as simple as like paying attention to how you're talking to yourself.
Oh, interesting.
Are you constantly putting yourself down, or are you being kind? Like, would you talk to your best friend that way?
Right. So it's about challenging those negative thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Replacing them with something more positive, more empowering.
Yeah. And setting those boundaries, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you letting people treat you in ways that, don't align with your values? Or are you always putting everyone else's needs before your own?
Yeah. It's about knowing when you're giving too much and be okay with saying no.
It is. It is. And it can be hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you're someone who's, used to people pleasing.
Right.
But it's so important to honor yourself, and your worth. And remember, boundaries, it's not about being selfish. It's about protecting your energy and making sure you're, showing up as your best self.
And when you do that, when you set those boundaries, it creates space, right? For better relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you're coming from that place of, wholeness and self-love,
Mhm.
you're not looking for someone to complete you. You're not looking for validation.
Right.
You're looking for someone who complements you,
Yeah.
enhances your life. And that's the kind of connection that's going to be,
Health.
healthy and last.
Yeah. Man, I love that. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to really walk away with?
I want them to remember they have the power to create the life they want. It starts with recognizing their own worth.
Yeah.
Making choices that reflect that. It's about self-love, self-care, setting those healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey. It's not a destination.
So well said. It's been awesome diving deep on this with you.
Yeah, this was fun.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope you found this deep dive into princess treatment insightful, empowering, and, remember, the real crown jewel is the self-love you cultivate within. Until next time.